Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Tiger Talk this time. I'm joined today with Lauren Deitz from the EDA and Krista Bjella from the Pride in the Tiger Foundation. We're going to talk about some work, some partnerships that we're doing today. Like we do every month, I'm going to start off with a few general announcements for the school district. First thing I want to share is that we've got workshops starting. It is the end of August almost already. I can't believe how fast the summer has gone. Workshop starts our new teachers next week, and then everyone's back that following week. And then we're getting ready for school to start. So first day at the high school, they have some adjusted schedules planned for September 5th. So if you have a high school student, watch in your mail and your email for some information about what time your child should come to school on September 5th. On September 5th, we have open houses at Parkside, Southview Middle School, and Maytech. So all the schools except for the high school have open houses on September 5th. And then September 6th is the first full day of class for everybody. September 6th this year is on a Wednesday. So we have regular early outs. At the end of the year last year, we had stopped the 2:20 early dismissals because of all the snow days. We're making up some time, but those are back this year, just like a regular schedule. So 2:20 dismissal on that September 6th, and then every Wednesday for the rest of the year is that regular dismissal time. We have fall activities also kicking off right now, and it's the first day of practice just this week, and that's really fun to see the kids all back and getting going with that. I know it's good to get back in routine with those things, so excited to see our fall activities starting with all the kids with those things. Some changes you're going to see this year with some activities things is we have a new online ticketing app that we're using this year. The system we used last year, it just expired. We had to get something different, changing that. So it's going to be GoFan, it's called. So those of you that want to prepare ahead of time for the activities season and attending events, you can download the GoFan app. Find Marshall High School in that app, and you can download and buy your tickets right online with that. There's information also if you go to our school website. There's an activities link. We got a brand new website. Activities has a brand new site with that, and in there you can find a link to download the app and all the information you need about schedules and such for our activities for this fall. Some new fan expectations this year as well with activities. Just some things, trying to streamline some things and help with some student behaviors at activities that are going on. So we're asking if you have a younger child who's coming to a game that parents or an adult attend with a younger child. We've had in the past some kids that come by themselves, and they're not always as well behaved when they're alone at those events. So we ask that an adult comes with kids. And at different events, that kids not bring the balls along and play the games off the sidelines. We've seen kids getting hurt, and then sometimes there's not a parent there. It's caused some issues in the past. So we're going to ask no balls at the games and have an adult with the students just to help us maintain positive behaviors at all of our events as we're supporting our Marshall High School athletes. I also want to promote a new app that we're downloading, a school app. You go in your app store, whether it's on Apple or on Android, and download, or you can search for Marshall Public Schools MN in your app store. You'll see a picture of our Marshall Tiger, our logo. It says Marshall Tigers on it. Download that app. It's going to be quick access to a news feed that has all the current updates from our district, event calendars, including athletics and school events for all the different sites. We have a staff directory in there. The lunch menu is downloaded, so a quick view of what's going on for lunch at all the schools this year. It's everything Marshall Public Schools in your pocket. We encourage you to download that and get ready for school year with that new app. Those are the announcements I got for today. So let's kick off. I'm really excited about the event we're talking about today, but let's just start with some introductions. So people probably know who you two are, but let's just go through, and I'm going to let you each introduce yourselves. Lauren, we'll start with you. Just talk a little bit who you are, what your role is in the community, and why we're talking today.
Absolutely. I'm Lauren Deitz, Director of Economic Development. I've been in this role for about 3 years now. So my role really is to support all things business, whether that's helping our current employers expand their operations, bringing new businesses to town, and then tackling things like daycare, housing, workforce needs. So with that, the big piece in that today, and what we're seeing is a big need in our community, is workforce and the development piece there. So partnering with Marshall Public Schools and others in the community to help build our future workforce.
Awesome, thank you. Krista, you play a lot of roles in the district. You've done a number of things, but today we're talking specifically about with your Pride in the Tiger role.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
So I am the Executive Director of the Pride in the Tiger Foundation, and I have also been in this role for about 3 years. And, really my job is to help educate the community on what the foundation does, but work very closely with businesses in the community and the school to raise money for scholarships, to raise money to support our classroom initiatives. And today we're going to talk about how we're going to help support the CTE programs within the schools.
Yeah. So CTE education, there's a lot of things happening, not just in Marshall, around the whole country. We're hearing that the workforce needs. It's something. It just struck me as you guys did introductions. We all started about the same time in these roles. So I've been there about 3 years.
Absolutely.
And, so that's just interesting. That's where that is too. But workforce is a big need. We all work with different employers. We all connect with different people in town. And there's a very common theme about need. I know as we're hiring, we're in our final stretch right now hiring for fall. We don't have all of our positions filled yet. We've got all of our teachers are hired, but we still need some support staff. And in some of those roles, we're looking at the same potential employees that a lot of other employers in town are seeking. And it's the same thing we hear every place we go is there's no applicants, there's needs. Yeah. So that's really where we're focused on, some things the school district is seeing and we're trying to address, and things that across the community are addressing too. We want to talk about that. So, Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Some themes or general needs that you see for workforce needs in the region. We started this conversation, it wasn't just Marshall, we talked regionally, but talk a little bit about what some of those general needs are.
Yeah, we're in such a unique spot right now. One, baby boomers are retiring. We're coming out of a pandemic, and unemployment rates, things like daycare. We don't have enough daycare to get enough people into the workforce. So we just have, across the board, I think every business, every industry has workforce needs. Retention's really difficult. There's a lot of hopping around. People are following the paycheck. So it's been just really difficult to get enough skilled workers. And several years ago, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more, there was such a push for all students to go the 4-year route. And with that, that's not the type of workforce we're always needing in our community. We need a lot of skilled trades that we just don't have the training for right now. So giving kids the opportunity to get hands-on and to just learn and outside of the classroom. And we're just really looking for opportunities to give that to our students. So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We think about, even when I went to school, if you're going to have a good job, make good money, you go to a 4-year school and you get a degree, and that just isn't always the case anymore. We see people with 4-year degrees that are doing unskilled or jobs where you don't need that level of training, and we see a lot of people who don't have the 4-year degree making a lot of money in very successful positions. So I think it's really a shift in mindset going forward and how we communicate that with kids. So.
Absolutely, and we saw unemployment rates as low as 1.6. In the last year. It's so difficult for our businesses to find people and just quality people who want to work. Right. So just really building that skill set in the young generations.
Absolutely. So Krista, you said we're talking specifically about Pride in the Tiger, but you do wear a role as a school counselor as well. You've worked with middle school students the last few years. You worked as a high school counselor. Within that role, with the high school students, big part of the high school counselor job is thinking about life after high school with kids and career planning and schedule planning to make sure that we're preparing kids for that. So as you're working with students at the high school, thinking about the workforce needs, what kinds of things do you see kids coming with? What kind of questions do they have, or what are some themes that you're seeing from them thinking about post-secondary options?
I think so many students just aren't sure what they want to do. And so what we hope to do, really starting in middle school and then through high school, is to give them exposure to a lot of different trades, to a lot of different skills, to a lot of different areas of potential work pathways. And then they want experience. So they want to go out and know what it's going to be like to work in those areas. And so the more we can give them those opportunities, the more likely they are to figure out what that pathway looks like. And we still have students who want to, pursue that 4-year degree or beyond. We also have a lot of students who are wanting, to study a trade or who want to go into a certificate program. We also have more and more students who are just wanting to enter the workforce, and they're trying to figure out, what skills do I need coming out of high school that will help me be ready to have a meaningful career entering the workforce right away? What industries and what skills can I gain through my courses that I take in high school so that I can be ready to kind of learn on the job?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we've talked about as we've gone through this different planning and this whole process, we talk about the level of need, the amount of need we have in our community, and we have all these students looking for different things, but then it's, how do we connect kids? I think you're hitting on it there. How do we connect kids back to what exists in town? Our kids are very familiar with what their mom and dad do, and they know, I think about the school district, they're very familiar with, there's teachers and there's helpers in the rooms, and that's kind of the extent of what kids think exists. But within the school district, we have so many other opportunities. We have accountants, and we have bookkeepers, we have payroll, we have admin assistants, we have custodians, we have groundskeepers, there's so many things right there. And then every other business in town has those things too. So how do we expose kids to some of those different things and realize you can make a very good, comfortable living in Marshall
Right.
without leaving? So
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in our region, there's just so many different opportunities in so many different industries, and a lot of times, kids and families don't know, all the things that are available. I think back to last year, and we hosted that first ever career fair at the high school, and what a great experience for our students to be able to go and talk to those businesses and just learn more about, I think in particular, like Central and all the different things that they offer for students who might be interested in. They don't want to sit behind a desk. They want to be out learning, and the technology that they use and related to agriculture. There's just so many different things that students just really aren't aware is available right here in our region.
Well, and the beauty to that, the tie into all these different industries. And like you said, you can do human resources, but you could do it for a hospital, for education, for agriculture. You still can have a tie to what you're passionate for, but be in a job that makes sense for you. And just that exposure factor is so huge, both for kids and for parents and families in the community.
Right. And that's where this partnership has come together.
Absolutely.
Is your job is business, my job is education, but we can't run two separate tracks anymore and meet the needs of the community. So really that, how do we work together and how do we support each other in that work? So that's what we're talking about today. And I'm really excited about the work that we've got going on. I think we've got some very positive things taking place right now. So that's great. Let's think about, as we're talking about that, when we're looking at employers and the needs that they're talking to you that they need, and we're thinking about with students and how do we help prepare them. One of the things I hear is we need soft skills, or there's employability skills. So some of it, we're informing students about jobs that exist, but it's also about what kind of skills they do need. If they're going right to the workforce, like you mentioned, Krista, what kinds of things do we need to make sure we're doing? So let's just talk about that a little bit from both of your perspectives. What are you seeing as some things that we've talked about or we need to continue to look at?
Yeah, I mean, just some of those general skills, following a time clock, punching in, punching out, being there, being accountable, being a good team player, being part of that collaborative process within the workforce. I think that's huge. There's something to be said about those who are self-starters and learners, but also being able to work with all different types of people within those different areas, I think is really important. And what we maybe see as a lack in workforce right now is people are very individualized thinkers, which is great. You've got to protect yourself first, but how can you do more for the greater good of the company?
Yeah.
And just those general people skills, I think the pandemic, people spent a lot of time at home, and so our students, were learning through devices, and we kept the learning going, but then they lost some of that interpersonal interaction that went on during that time. And so kind of gaining those skills back and teaching kids how to talk to one another in person and have those conversations, and, really encouraging don't have that conversation over electronic media, whether it be text or email, whatever. Kids don't really use email anymore, but Snapchat. But have a conversation with somebody. Those general people skills. Look someone in the eye. Tell them what you're thinking. Share your ideas. Have a conversation. Those are really important skills that are still needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think how many times in high school did you have a teacher say, well, you're going to need this in the real world. But rather than just saying you're going to need this in the real world, let's talk about what that really looks like and how we can do that.
Yeah.
So that brings us to CTE education, career and technical education. That's what we're talking about. That's kind of how we can kind of bridge that gap. So just either one of you, talk a little bit about how can CTE in the schools help support the workforce in some of those needs?
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a great point right away. I work with business, you work with education, and oftentimes we've had this mess in the middle where we don't know how to best serve our community. So really taking this CTE opportunity and looking at specific job categories that are lacking. Some of our skilled trades are the ones. We don't have a lot of corporate positions in Marshall. Unfortunately, that a lot of those office type style jobs aren't here. But we have a huge need for welders and plumbers and electricians, and the opportunities and just building those skills for the kids that can, like you mentioned, make a career and a life here in Marshall.
A lot of our local businesses want to support students who maybe want to go on. I think about some of our, larger agricultural equipment companies in town are looking for people who can service the equipment. And so they're super supportive of our students and are ready. And if a student has the skills to have those people skills, they're hardworking and they want to learn, they'll get them the education that they need to fix a $1 million combine. They just need that collaboration with us to know who are those students and how can we identify those students that want that learning and want to come back and work here in those industries.
Yeah.
So that collaboration is such an important piece of the businesses working with the school to help not only identify the students, but we aren't experts in it. I'm not an expert in that. And so why not utilize those businesses that have that, training and that have those expertise to come in and talk to our students about it. I would much rather, a student would much rather hear from someone who's walking the walk than me telling them what it's about.
Yeah. And sparking that passion
Yep.
from a young age. A lot of these kids just don't have the opportunity to be exposed to that hands-on learning and just there's something to be said about the ability to do what you are going to do in the future and how that can apply to your life. So it's just a great opportunity to get that experience for them.
Absolutely. And some students will do it and find out, I love it, I really do like this, is what I want to do. And some students are going to start and say, oh, I really don't like that. And then they have that experience, so they say, I'm not going on for that.
Right.
What else can I do?
Right.
And I think it was a good point too earlier. You said HR, you can do so many different fields. Well, maybe I love the idea of the medical world, but I find out I'm scared of blood.
Exactly.
So I can do something else in a hospital without having to see blood.
Yeah, I was that person. I worked in marketing and healthcare because I liked the healthcare world, but I was not going to be a nurse. But it gave me that opportunity to still feel like I was part of the mission without having to be hands-on in an OR. So it was great.
Yeah.
And I think, we talk all the time about reducing cost to education after high school. So whether they're going to a 4-year, 2-year, whatever, well, the more they understand what they want to do and they have a clear pathway, the less they're going to spend on things that they're not going to study. So I think about a student entering a 4-year program and they start and they go in a year, and a lot of our students are able, if they're going on to a 4-year, they're coming out of high school with college credits already. And so they're starting at a point where they're going to start taking those kind of career path classes. And if then they switch their major, they're kind of starting backwards. And so that increases the cost of education. So the more experience and exposure and internships and apprenticeships that we can give students at the high school level for those direct hands-on, the more they're like, I know what I want to do, I'm going to go study it and enter the workforce. And it kind of reduces that overall cost for them because they're going directly into what they want to study.
Yeah. Good. So one of the things that we've talked about, and I've shared on this show over probably more than a year now, we've talked about a property that the school district purchased. It's on Highway 59, and we're remodeling it. We're nearing completion. It's going to open this fall. It's our Career and Technical Institute, MCTI, because we have to have an abbreviation for everything in school. So this center is going to open this fall. We're going to start off with our CNA classes, our Certified Nursing Assistant classes. Those are moving from our Maytech location to the new site. We have a whole new medical lab that's part of this location. We have some advanced automotive classes that will be new, some things that we haven't been able to offer currently. Our high school has a nice automotive shop where we can do some general things and just it's busy all day long. So in order to offer advanced classes, we need shop space as well. So this will give us the ability to offer that. We're also going to move a welding lab from Maytech out to the new center so we can offer some more advanced welding classes. But that's just a starting point. We want to do some expansion in the future. So down the road, we're thinking at things like construction trades. You mentioned electricians, plumbers, HVAC. We know there's needs in all those areas. Those are the type of program we want to offer in the future. It won't always be the exact same things all the time, but to having this location where we have room to spread out and offer these classes, these programs for kids. And it's a center where, just to be clear for the community, when students come out to this MCTI center, the Career and Technical Institute, they'll come out for a class, maybe 2 classes, and then they go back. They're still a high school student, they may be still a Maytech student. They attend a class or 2 at the center and go back to their high school. They're still getting all their core classes there. So you're not enrolling in a different school or a different program. It's just another class and some space to make those things happen. So thinking about all of this is new programming. It's things that school district funding is always tight, and that's kind of where we're going with this conversation, is we want to have these opportunities for kids. We know that businesses are saying that they need some of these things. We don't have the funding to do it all on our own. So we're looking for some support in some of this work. We need very specific tools, supplies, equipment, things to make these classes happen. that the school district doesn't own, and we need to support that. And just the construction of a building is expensive. So
Yep.
we're reaching out, we're asking community members, businesses, individuals to consider sponsoring or helping donate to make this thing happen. And as we think about that ask, this is a new world for the school. The school doesn't typically go out and ask for money for that kind of thing. So this is something, it's not an easy thing for me to go out and do. This isn't what I do. And that's part of this partnership, is how do we do that, and how do we make sure we're having the biggest impact if we're going to ask people to help make that happen. Thinking about that, I want to just talk a little bit about the benefit to both the students and the benefit to the community in providing this type of education. So maybe Lauren, start with a little bit, maybe the community side of it. What are some things that could help benefit the community by offering this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we've mentioned, my work is working with these businesses, and we spend a lot of time, we've hosted roundtables and different types of opportunities for businesses just to hear where their pain points are. And workforce is always top of the list. And so on my side of things, I want to take the things I'm hearing from our businesses and create these programs or support programs that help benefit them in the future. So from the EDA side, I just want to continue to connect these businesses, one, for a financial support piece, of course, but also giving these businesses exposure to the students and opportunities for them to come into the classroom and really build a partnership that's more long-term. Yep. Financial impact is great, but also how can we build a program and partnerships that will be long-term beneficial for both the student, the school, and the business.
Yeah. What about for students, Krista? I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit there. Talk about the benefit for students.
The collaboration is so important because, kind of like what Lauren said, we need our students to be exposed to the different industries and the different opportunities that are available right here in our region. So that's a huge benefit, is just that exposure. But then that, foundational level training, along with as far as a certificate program for welding, or maybe there's a certificate program for the automotive repair in certain areas, and maybe we expand to those other areas or other industries. The more base education we can give those students, the more they are ready to enter right into the workforce, or need very little continued training to be able to meet the needs of those big gaps in our workforce right now. So, and just that overall exposure, the more exposure we can give students to the varying industries and the varying opportunities, just the better it creates those career pathways for them to determine, what their next steps are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I imagine there's a lot of students who just feel like classroom's not for them. So giving those students an opportunity to get out and do some hands-on work that really feels rewarding for them and gives them a purpose to kind of get through the high school step of their process.
There's a lot of students who sitting at a desk and, we still have those graduation requirements of math and language arts and all of those things, but there's a lot of kids who really thrive in a hands-on environment and being able to work with things. And there's a variety of things that we offer at Marshall High School and Maytech, and soon to be the CTE Center, but they're very tool intensive.
Right.
And so I think that's been one of the challenges, is we want to offer these things, but supplying those, it's not paper and pencil. It's very unique to those programs.
Right, absolutely. I think that's a good point. CTE education, we've talked about this new center opening up, and that I'm very excited about opening this new center, but our CTE program is much bigger than just that center. We added classes last year at the middle school and pathways classes, where we've got some Spanish classes that existed, but we've added agriculture classes. We've added PAYS Lab, where you're looking at careers focused and just career exploration kind of thing for middle school students. We've added a FACS class, Family and Consumer Science, looking at some sewing skills and some cooking skills and some of those things at the middle school level. And the high school has other programs that exist already too. We've got things like an Intro to Ed class, so we always have interest in kids. And it's not just, and it's intro to ed, so sure, kids that want to be teachers, but also kids that are thinking about anything in the general human services industry. That class can be like a starting point to go that direction. We offer a medical careers class, some engineering classes, agriculture classes in a wide variety, FACS classes, a lot of different things that we do at the high school that exist, and just how can we even take that next step. And really, it's really about that balance and meeting the needs that kids have to meet graduation requirements, and meeting their interest level for different things too. So a lot of things taking place with that. And as we're going through this project, we think about, people might say, well, why is the EDA at the table? Why is Pride in the Tiger at the table? Let's talk a little about that specifically. Lauren, just talk a little about what is EDA doing to help support that work with the schools?
Yeah, it's workforce is always going to be one of our top priorities on the EDA side of things. So for us, a big part of that is, we don't have the funding either, but finding ways to connect businesses. We know that there's those in the community that want to support, so just making that connection, bridging that gap for the school, and then serving as a resource to show them the benefit long-term of how this can be beneficial for their business. We are growing our own workforce here, keeping Marshall alive and thriving, and just serving in that role to make sure that the business's needs are heard through this process.
Yeah. And you used a great expression there that we haven't touched base on today, is the grow your own. That's really what this is about, is growing our own, supporting our kids to come back and work in our community and keep Marshall thriving.
Right.
And the other piece that's part of this too that we should hit on a little bit, and we've kind of hinted on it, but the financial piece is a need, but it's also, like Krista talked about, those job apprenticeships, the interns, the classroom speakers, just getting businesses connected, and it's knowing who both ways to go to. So
well, and we've mentioned it in other discussions, our CEO program that we launched last year, and that opportunity for those students, kind of a similar dynamic where they're learning from businesses here, our own experts. We don't need to learn out of a book. We don't need to find some speaker to come in from the cities. We've got experts here in our community who are doing amazing things and really are passionate about what they do. So just using that as a way to educate our students is just a whole new dynamic that I think kids, parents, everybody will be really excited to see.
Absolutely. Good. That's EDA. Krista, why is Pride in the Tiger at the table?
Yeah. Well, a couple of reasons. We've already been supporting the CTE programming in the schools through our teacher impact grants. Specifically, we've purchased auto lifts, a tire lathe system, many big toolkits that are quite expensive. I mean, I think the toolkits are like $8,000 to $9,000 a piece, and so we've already supported some of these programs even prior to the CTE Center being open. Just recognizing there's a need for those tools and for those pieces of equipment to add these courses, and so we've already been doing that. The other piece is I've been doing a lot of finding grants that we can apply for to get money. So we have such a generous business community. And some of our local businesses have connections to foundations. So I think about Avera Foundation. I think about U.S. Bank Foundation. I think about Taco Bell Foundation. We've received some generous grant donations to support these programs from those, kind of local ties already. And so, finding where we can get more of those funds to help support more of these programs, and just kind of being, I'll say, at the funnel for those donations to come in, and then we want to follow our process of ensuring that wherever that money goes, it supports student growth and learning. That's our mission. Yeah. That's what we want to see. And so, anyone who does make a donation to these programs through the foundation, you'll just need to know that's where we're going to ensure it goes to student learning direct.
Right. And it's really tapping into the resources, how we work best.
Yes.
Lauren knows businesses and has those connections. We need that. The school knows what we need for kids. We've got that. Pride in the Tiger does donations and distribution for different things.
Yep.
So you know that. So working together, we can make this project happen.
Yep.
Ryan's giving me the signal we're running low on time. So just a couple things I want to share with the viewers before we wrap up this session. I really appreciate this conversation today, and I really appreciate the support from both of you to make this happen. And I know our community has reached out in a big way in this too. We've talked about recognition. So we're asking for people to sponsor. We're going to do some recognition things for people too. We've talked about a donor wall that's going up at the new site. We'll recognize people there. Depending on different levels, people are willing to do some donations, some contributions. We can talk about naming rights on different bays within the labs, some classroom naming rights, that sort of thing. Recognition on our websites and on social media things. A lot of things to happen there. So if someone's interested in saying, what does that look like? Reach out to us. Let us know that. We're happy to share that. We're doing some reaching out to you with to businesses and stuff, a more formal ask in the very near future. And we have a plan of some different ways that can happen too. Encourage you to visit our website, either the Pride in the Tiger website or the Marshall Public Schools website. We got some information on there about what this looks like and how that can happen. And the only other piece I want to touch base on is I hear a lot about scholarships, a lot of asks about scholarships. So we've talked about that. We recognize that's a need for kids. We also recognize that opening the doors in this facility is a big need too. So our focus right now is let's get the facility open, let's get the tools we need and the supplies we need to start. And then scholarships would kind of be the next phase of this project, knowing that's a big need. That's something that EDA has recognized. It's something that Pride in the Tiger does. But then how do we make that specific for CTE? Because some of our current scholarship programs are targeted at different, there's so many different things there. So we want to make sure we have some targets specifically to this need as we see that is a need in the community. So this will be an ongoing project for some time. So anyone with additional questions, reach out to, you can call the main number for the school district. It's 537-6924. We'll get you directed to where you need to be there. Also on our website, there's a donorship and a sponsor site on there. You can go and you can find information there. There's a form you can submit, get us information there. Pride in the Tiger, reach out to Krista.
PrideInTheTiger.org.
PrideInTheTiger.org. We'll get you connected and answer your questions you have there too. So thank you for listening today. We look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you two for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.